Okay, so this one isn't as heavy as life advice, but it's about what it's like to be asked on American Ninja Warrior. So I've been on the show a few times now, and this all didn't start. I'm 50, I'll be 52 in a few weeks. It didn't start until I was 49 years old. So my case is unusual, and though it's not that unusual in the sense, and I'll get to that why, to the reason why. So there's a misconception about the show, and this is what I found, having had a few years of experience, is that the show is an athletic competition. To be honest, I never watched the show before I got on. Full disclosure, and the show knows that, and I'm not shy about telling people that, but people for years were telling me you should go on the show. We'll go on, apply for a Ninja Warrior, blah, 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 blah. But I was racing bikes and flying all over the country and traveling, whatever, and that was just like, I can't add another thing on top of that. Plus, I was in my 40s. And I knew that people on the show were probably median age is 27 years old. But anyway, I can talk about my application down the road, but this is my experience of the whole process as far as getting on the show. So the friends that would tell me, well, you should go on the show, well, you should try to get on the show, they were telling me that because they knew the stuff I could do on my Instagram videos, whatever. And this is before TikTok. But everyone that I've talked to that are fans of the show thinks it's an athletic competition, and it's not. And again, back to having now had experience in this, I would say this: the show is broken down as basically three groups. 33% are veterans and guaranteed going to get really close to a buzzer. They're going to get far on the course and get to it, and they're sure things to get enough airtime as far as on the course. The other third are contenders. These are the new group that are athletically inclined that can get there. But here's the rub. The first group, the first 33%, the first third, they're so good that their stories are already known at this point, and they don't need to have a great story. And this is the point, is that the most important part of getting on the show is having a good story. You know, I honestly don't watch the show because I'm busy doing other things. I watch clips and everything else. And one of the biggest complaints was for the last few years before I came on was that the stories got a little too heavy. Really kind of heavy things, and serious illnesses and things of that ilk. And it was getting a little cliche from what friends were telling me. And I think the show's producers have tweeted since then. But the main thing that's going to get you on the show is the first thing that's going to get your foot in the door is your story. And this is the reason I'm mentioning this is, so you have the first third who are guaranteed, they're already veterans, they've gotten through with their story, and they've proven, hey, they've got the skills to get through the course. And here's the next third who have good stories and have potential to get through the course. And these are what they're hoping that will move through. And then there's the last third, and that's me, the human interest stories, the people that hey, I'm very athletic for a 50-plus-year-old guy, extremely athletic, probably in the top percentile. But I know my realistic expectations of how far I'll get on the course and get on the show. But more importantly, it's my story that got me on the show, and this is the story that kind of kept me on the show. And that's what people really need to understand. It's the story that gets you your foot in the door. You can probably have an amazing story and be able to stand on your foot for 10 seconds, and that's your best physical skill. I'm exaggerating. And that'll get you on the show. It's that story that got you on the show. So that's the frustrating thing. Like, I want to explain to people that train our ninjas and they want to get on the show, and and they don't come out and directly thumb a nose at people like me or people that don't have the skill they do. But there's resentment. I know that there's resentment. It's like, well, I can do this, and this. That old guy will, he ain't all that. Why do they keep on asking him to be on the show? It's like, well, because I'm an interesting person, and you know, to be blunt, and I fill a niche that the show's producers want to fill, and you know that'll change. Obviously, the you know tides. So just like I said, people were getting tired of the heavy stories, and now they kind of want maybe something a little bit lighter or whatever, or inspiring in my case. But that's what it's like to try to get on the show. And I'll talk more about my own experience of being on the show and the whole, it's because, here's a spoiler, it is the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. You know, aside from watching the birth of my son, getting married, winning a national championship, you get to meet such amazing people. But that's part of the whole thing. All these people had a story at one point, and that's why they're extraordinary human beings, and some are extraordinary athletes, but it's not vice versa. These aren't extraordinary athletes and with decent stories. These are great stories with pretty good, if not extraordinary, athletes. So anyway, I'll talk about more of that down the road.